Okay, thank you all for taking the time to listen to these 3 stories that I have for you. So we're gonna go through 3 short 10-minute stories, and I think at the end we will entertain questions that you may have. Okay, we're gonna start by looking at how nature can impact refugee women, and I will start with a video, and then I'll give you some more results of this study.
الصراحة لما اجت وجابوا الأغراض نحن صرنا نحكي حالنا إنه بالصناديق بينزرعوا، يعني بلشنا فيهم بداية الأمر نطلع إنه ما راح يصير يعني ولا راح يزبطوا.
ما فات براسي الفكرة مزبوط، يعني إنه الزرع كيف بدك تسقيه هيك وبالمقلوم.
افتكرت أول شيء يعني إنه شلون بدي يطلع.
إذا الواحد أو الوحدة ما عندهم مجال وحابين يزرعوا، فيهم يستعملوا مساحة الهواء ويزرعوا عمودياً.
قلنا نحن الأفضل هيك، أو لا هيك مشان نحطن هون. هلا بعد ما جابوا الحديد وركبنين هون وطلع الشتل بين المنظر غير شكل.
هيدي الطريقة التقنية موجودة بكل العالم. المهم انه الواحد ما يتكلف كتير ويقدر يطبقها بطريقة بتتكيف مع وضعه الشخصي، المكان اللي هو عايش فيه.
نحن عايشين ببناء كل شقة فيها 3 أوض وكل أوضة فيها عائلة.
أول شيء زرعنا عبينا الشلحوط تراب ورشينا البذر وصار يطلع شوي شوي وصاروا هيك مثل ما انك شايفة.
هذا كزبرة، روكة، رشاد، بقدونس، بقلي، من مجاميعه.
فرد الخس بنشيل الشتلة الضعيفة وبنترك النص على المنيحة، وبنترك عدة شتلات بالشلحة، وهول اللي منخلينه بيصيروا.
إذا فردته بصير العود عاسي وأحسن، يعني بيعطي إنتاج، مو بصير هيك كتير لز، بصير ناعم، أنت بتقطفي منه وهو بيطلع. وقت اللي يعني بحتاج باخذ نعمل سلطة بتحط حول الأكل هيك.
يوم بنسقيهم يوم ما بنسقيهم، وبنحط المي بالبريق وبنصير بنرش لحتى تروى الشتلة. مهندسة دلتني وعلمتنا انه كيف نعمل وخدنا الطريقة مني.
افتكرت اول شيء يعني انه شلون بدي يطلع، بعدين لما انفرح واشرت لنا خلص عرفنا اقتنعنا انه بتعمله هيك، وعاونتنا وعبت معنا وبدرته، احنا صرنا نهتم فيه.
نحن بالجامعة الأمريكية بكلية الزراعة طورنا طريقة كتير بسيطة لزرع عمودياً، تتكل على استعمال صناديق الخضرة يلي هي متوفرة بكل الأماكن. أول شيء الصندوق بيتعبى خلطة تراب، وبعدين بتنكبس هيدي خلطة التراب بكرتونة أو ستايروفوم وبتتثبت، والزرع بيصير من تاني ميلة من الصندوقة، من ميلة المشبكة. بتنقلب الصندوقة وبتنرش البذور على الشبك تبع الصندوقة وبتنكبس بقلب التراب. ما لازم تتغمق كتير لأنه البذور الأعشاب وهيك صغيرة هي، وبتنترك هالصناديق على الأرض لمدة 10 أيام حتى تفرخ هالبذور. وقت تفرخ البذور جذورها ببلشوا يمسكوا الترابات. مشان هيك الزراعة العمودية بتنعمل بطريقة مرحلية، يعني أول مرحلة بنخلي صناديق نايمين على الأرض مشان يطلعوا شروش وتطلع النبتة، بعدين بنقلبهم بنميلهم شوي مشان كمان لنخلي النبتة تتعود على انه حتنقلب بتصير افقية، وهالشروش بتمسك التراب احسن. وقت تطلع الشتل تصير طالعة منيح بقوة وشروشها مسكين التراب، ثالث جمعة نقلبهم ومنعلقهم على سقالة حديد أو على حيط. طريقة الزراعة العمودية بالصناديق هي وحدة من الطرق، بس في كتير مجالات الواحد يبتكر بالزراعة العمودية حسب المواد المتوفرة. يعني صندوقة، برميل، بركة الشخص فيه هو يركب حيط. مهم المفهوم هو ذاته، إذا توفر للنبتة التراب والمي والغذاء يلي هي بتعوزه.
لما عبيناهم العيلة كلها عبت وزبطت معنا.
أنا صرت عبي فيهم قلب السلات ومشان نضغط مشان لما يطلعوا يصيروا منيح.
وزرعنا وربطنا شرطان سد وحطينا على جنب.
كنت عم بحكي مع ابن خالي انا، بعتي له صور عم يفرجيني احنا شو اشتغلنا، يعني شو عملنا هون على المشروع هذا، وانه بخبرني من هونيك انه عاطينه ارض هن بهولندا بده يزرع فيها، ما عم يعرف كيف هو. بعتنا له فيديوهات نحن من هون نفس الطريقه هاي، وكثير انبسط فيها، يعني انه بده يشتغل نفس الطريقه اللي عاملينها.
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10.
Okay, so the purpose, the reason why we got involved in this project and why we were interested in introducing gardening to Syrian women refugees is because I don't know how many of you in the audience, but when you are a refugee, and I experienced being a refugee, some of you may have, there is the dramatic situation where it's an issue of health and safety and all these things. But there is also the situation where you are just sitting there and with nothing to do and you are bored. There is this time that happens also, this boredom, this feeling that you cannot do anything, you cannot go anywhere. And that contributes to the depression, and it contributes to feeling inadequate. And so we introduced this gardening to see, does it help contribute to their feeling better about themselves despite the difficult conditions that they are experiencing. And what I'm showing you here are some quotes that the participants relayed midway and after the gardening program. So as you can see, when we asked them, why did you join, or how did you feel when you joined? And you can see, so it takes my mind away from worries, it gets me distracted, forget, waste time, do something, have fun. I feel happy, I feel responsible, relaxed, changes my mood, peace of mind, I love gardening. So there is a basic need of just living a daily life that is peaceful, despite the dramatic situation that you are in as an individual. And to support this finding, we actually conducted something called the Beck's Depression Index. So this is an index that measures whether this contribution, this participation to gardening helped alleviate the level of depression. And so we measured the level, and it's a self-assessment. So the participants, they select the answers midway and at the end of the program. And our findings were statistically significant. So professionally, we could say that the gardening therapy contributed to, I wouldn't say that they became happy, but they are less miserable by gardening. And for 1/3 of the participants, this drop in the depression index was actually clinically significant. So it was not just an academic exercise. So this is the first story that just to show that nature intervention, it's a subtle intervention, it's not something very direct, but it does contribute to better living. The second project, the second story I want to tell you is the story of nature and children. And so while we are busy with all our worries about adult worries, whatever they are, politics and economics and war. The children are what they are going to inherit whatever damage we do today. And so the study that we had here was to say, okay, how do children see nature? Okay, I know how I see nature. I'm a scientist. Adults, we know how they see nature. But how do children perceive nature? And so we conducted a study in 5 villages throughout Lebanon, and we made sure that these locations are ecologically diverse, and also that the villages, the people in these villages come from different religious backgrounds. And the study is very simple. We just gave them a one-day workshop, taught them how to take photographs, and then we asked them to document nature. And we made sure to tell them this is not an academic exercise, this is not a scientific exercise. Whatever you want to document as nature, go ahead and document. And this is a study that really came as a surprise to us, because as a scientist, you ask someone to take a photo of nature, and what do you expect? A tree, a flower, an insect, a bird, or something like this. And what I'm going to do now is show you some of the photographs that the children took. Okay? So this is Basma, she's 12 years old, and this is the photo. And then the important thing is that when they took the photos, we asked them to explain why they took this photo, to have a little narrative so that we have a better understanding of the background of the photo. So this is what Basma, this is her explanation. So I do not want to leave just a flower painted on the wall for future generations. Okay? So already you can see how children have an abstract perception of nature, not only a literal one. This is Naifa, 12 years old. And this is how she explains. Okay. Sausan, 13 years old. And I would like to say, as a conservation specialist, these children who are not exposed to conservation theories really came up with very simple and yet very complex answers and perceptions of nature. Okay, Hassan. This is my favorite. You know, we ask someone to take a photo of nature, and they take a photo of their grandmother. So this is like your hardcore eco-health concept of nature contributing to our health and well-being. The everyday nature. Nature is what I do every day. Now let's look at the results, because I don't have the time to show you all the photographs and the answers of the children, but I would like to point to the first table, if you can see. And so we had 72 students from 5 schools participating. And what you have here is whether they took a photo of nature, of an agricultural setting, cultural setting, or just a symbolic. And notice that relatively to the others, taking a literal photo of nature is low. So the children are interested in nature in a different dimension, okay, in a more personalized and more cultural aspect. And look at the narratives. When they explain why they took the photos, only 14% explain, I took this photo of a tree because trees sequester carbon dioxide and we need this to live, or because it affects climate change. look at what they focused on. Family and emotions. Okay? And so one of the outcomes of our study was it revealed the importance of the extended family, the importance of grandparents and uncles and parents. Because when you are a young child and you are in a safe environment, if your exposure to nature is with these people that you trust and they love you, this is your first step to becoming an eco-citizen. And in our case, most of our focus has been on environmental NGOs and scientific facts and scaring people about the dramatic things that are going to happen to our lives. And this is not what children need. Children need to be associated with their parents and their families. There is much more value being with a relative that takes you just out and around and about, and you do something that you enjoy the experience with your family rather than getting the skill or facts that make you more knowledgeable about the problems of the situation. And this affected a lot how we conduct conservation communication and conservation strategies at the American University of Beirut. Okay, so now we move on to the third story, which is the community. So if you want to conserve nature, if you want water to be clean, or if you want forests not to be destroyed, you have to start with the people living in these areas that you are targeting. So communities are very important. They are the ones that are going to conserve nature if they see a benefit to them. Okay? For us, for example, living in Beirut, I cannot go up. I live in Beirut. I destroyed everything where I live. Everything, there is nothing, no forest, nothing. I cannot go to a place where nature still exists and ask people to do nothing because I want that place to remain conserved. I have to see what this person is interested in and how they see nature and how they can conserve nature. So working with the community and understanding the perception of the community is a very important approach. So the approach that we have is a people-centered approach. And one of the important aspects of nature, unless you're a scientist and you are specialized in different species and different ecosystems, and that would be maybe 0.0001% of the global world population, for the majority of people, nature is whatever, it's your everyday thing that you see, what you think, what you associate yourself with. So nature, you see it through your culture, through your spirituality, through your everyday routine. And so maybe one place that for me is nature and is very important, for someone else it may mean nothing. Okay? So nature is not something, an absolute, and there is a benchmark, and then you say, this is nature and this is not nature. Okay? This is something that at some point becomes very personal also, a personal experience. And so this is why if there is something like the cultural identity of nature. So if you want to conduct conservation, you have to look at the culture. You have to be field responsive and understand and start from that basis. And so our interest in this project, it was to document how communities and individuals in rural villages value nature, value their heritage. What do they see? Okay, we know what we see, but we don't know what they see in their villages. And so we had a goal which spans through 3 phases. The first phase was to develop a participatory methodology where we can get everyone on board and try to understand from them what is their understanding of their local nature. The second phase was to actually transform this into a digital platform where everyone can contribute. And the third phase is to make use of all this data and all this rallying to actually start sustainable development and local planning at the local level by empowering local communities. So the first project, the first phase, we called it بلدتي بيئتي. And basically, it's very simple. We decided to unlearn. We went as AUB, and we didn't go with any agenda or anything. We just took a Google map, and we met with the community like you're sitting here. And we gave them options of things that they can think about. And we asked them to just locate any natural or cultural landmark in their own village. Okay? Without saying, you have this, you have that, or whatever. We want to understand what they see, what they value. And this becomes the basis of where we start with our conservation activities. So since 2011, we worked with 70 municipalities. We had 554 volunteers from different villages forming committees, meeting with each other. So the map would keep going back and forth in the village for like 6 months before they complete all the data. Because what would we ask them? We say, so do you have a forest area? Yes, we have this woodland. Is there a place where you want to do reforestation? Yes, there is this area. Okay, is there a place where you can harvest wild plants? And then they would not know, and then they start thinking, okay, who do we know? There is, I don't know what, let's go ask her. Is there a place where you can watch birds? Is there a place where you can just have a beautiful view? You can watch the stars, you can walk, you can hike, etc. So it took 6 months of sharing this map with the community and going to different people until in fact they completed their map. And so we had collected by then 3,200 natural and cultural landmarks. And we organized public exhibits. And all this work we did in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Education, because we are involving the community in different ways. The local authorities through the Ministry of Interior. We were involving the youth through the Ministry of Education, and of course the Ministry of Tourism, because this becomes an important database for the national strategy to promote rural tourism. Okay, after we worked with about almost we hit 100 villages, it became very evident that working on paper maps is not enough to share all this information. And this is when we moved to the option of developing a digital platform. So a phone application, okay? Basically a phone application. And this is the phase that we are in now, the second phase. What is our aim? We just want to have a community of users. We want to create a national repository. And I just want to say that our position as the American University is very important because everyone trusts us with the data. Everyone is willing to share information. They feel that it is a repository, it is a place that is trustworthy, there are no commercial intents, and it is information that is here to stay as an academic institution. Our target is all the Lebanese, all the friends of Lebanon, and really what we want is to collect information as seen by the people. We don't want experts to come from outside and tell us this is who you are, this is what you have, this is what you should do, etc. We want to start and develop a personal understanding, a local understanding of what are our capacities. And so how is the digital platform organized? How did we ask villages to fill the data? Basically, we have 6 categories, okay? So one category is nature encounters, cultural experiences, local services, and in every one, as you can see, there is bird watching areas, natural beaches, botanizing areas, observing wild plants, archaeology, village walks, local skills, a carpenter, metal worker, and then we have food and lodging, firin, cafe, pub, wineries, distilleries, biking, hiking trails, all the micro enterprises that are nature-based, all of them organic farms, reforestation sites. This is a sample of, we have, I think, more than 70 something icons that the villages can select from. And then they can georeference themselves, talk about who they are, what they are, their contact, and all the information. And so this digital platform, we called it Daskara. In Arabic, it means Al-Qarya Al-Arika, an authentic village. And then we came up with a definition of what a Daskarji is, and we're inviting everyone to become a Daskarji. So basically, if you are passionate about discovering and conserving nature and heritage, and then you believe that the best way is for this to happen is if the local residents are the guardians and the beneficiaries of these landmarks, okay? So it's something local, it's something that comes from within. Then you are a Daskarji, and then you contribute to Daskara.
What is again Daskarji? What's the?
It's a definition that we came up with.
What is it?
So-
You said
so- Daskara, Al-Qarya Al-Arika, authentic village.
And then the Daskarji becomes what?
Me and you, and everyone who wants to contribute to Daskara. Okay, so at this stage, the features that we have is how to add location. You can add a location. We're still in a beta version, in the early version of the digital platform, and you can use it to find some of these landmarks. We're in the early process. But the upcoming features, which we already developed and we are in the process of adding to this platform, is a comprehensive sustainable development platform that includes an e-commerce called Bantouj. So how many of those living in Lebanon like to buy zait zaitoun from someone from that village specifically? And so what will happen with Bantouj, you just say, I want the zait zaitoun from Abu Eli from this village. And then Abu Eli receives a message, and then they send it, and it's home delivery. It's all within Lebanon, okay? And so here, as you can see, we are starting to support local entrepreneurs, homemade products. The other thing is a marketing tool. There are many young people, especially young people, that are operating businesses. There is someone who takes you on stargazing feeds, and someone who takes you on white plant walks, etc. And they don't have a way to market themselves. It's not easy for you to book, to understand how to get to them. And so it is going also to be, we also have a feature that is going to be a marketing tool for nature culture-based micro-enterprises. It is going to be a go-to place for education. Of course, all the information that is collected is verified locally and is verified academically. And last but not least, the ultimate eventual, it is going to serve as a crowdfunding platform where we have local projects. Local projects are community approved, and then they become, they work their way up to be crowdfunded through our platform, through AUB, and then we help local planning and local development in a way that does not dictate agendas, but that starts bottom up. Okay, so it starts with the people, with the communities. They have to provide evidence of consensus building, and then from there it works itself into the platform, and then we start helping with the diaspora. We start helping by crowdfunding for these projects. Okay, so many people ask us, so what is Daskara? Daskara is a money-generating project at AUB. The idea is that we want to become sustainable. We have received a significant fund from Diane Foundation, but one of the things that this foundation is helping us do is help yourself. You are doing something very good. Stop asking for always people to support you. find a way to become sustainable through your operations. So this is what we aim for, and our plan is to become sustainable in 5 years. So we will still need subsidy within the coming 5 years, and then we become sustainable. And then I want to end with this hot off the press, small 1-minute clip. Our official launch is going to be in May. We just have this little clip that was just finished.
أيام بيطلع عبالنا نكسر الروتين، نروح على مطرح جديد، مطرح مش بعيد، مش صعبة، لأن تعرفوا بعالمنا ذاته في عالم تاني حدك. تعالوا نكتشف لبنان من أول وجديد، تعالوا نركز على شو فيه. داسكارا أبليكيشن منتشارك فيها شو فيه بضياعنا، في مشوار حلو مع الأصحاب، ونومي بأوتيل مليون نجمة، في دكانجة مهضوم وقديم، في عالم ناطرينك تيطبخولك أطيب أكل، في زهور نادرة ومشاهدة طيور، وناس بتربي نحل وحرفيين وفنانين، وفي كتير اشياء. كيف؟ بكبسة زر. لا عن جد بكبسة زر. بداسكارا زيدوا على خريطتنا المناطق يلي بتعني لكم من ضياعكم، لأن كل ما كنا أكتر كل ما قدرنا نقشع شو فيه ونركز على الاشياء الحلوة ونحميها، ونبلش من مطرح ما نحن تنروح على مطرح أحلى، مطرح جديد ومش بعيد.
Okay, with this we conclude the presentation, and I think we're open for questions.
Salma, would you come and sit here, because we do have people watching online, and there will, if you sit here, you'll be on the camera. You can take my seat. And we did have one comment already online. Someone said, "I want to be a, what is it, a Daskara?" A Daskara. So that's great. And I think we'll open it for questions. I wanted to just start by saying that so many times we see academics unable to translate their passion and their interest to the world. And you seem to have bridged that gap. And I wondered if you had any advice about that, because I think AUB is in a unique position to actually make a difference in the practical world, but it is hard sometimes to bridge that gap. I wondered if you'd talk about that for a minute.
I don't know if I can talk on behalf of, where do I have to look, or at you? Or
I think you just can look anywhere. I don't know which camera is
I
on
look at
you.
you then, since you asked the question.
Yes.
I don't know if I can talk on behalf of all of AUB, but I can assure you that many people, many faculty members at AUB and many centers at AUB are doing a lot of work, are connecting with people. I think the issue is communicating everything we're doing. A lot is happening at AUB, grassroots work, a lot impacting communities, impacting local governments. We're doing a lot, but we don't have the time to communicate everything we're doing, because we have to publish and get promoted, all these things. And so if you provide AUB with a way to really tell all these wonderful stories, you will find many.
I'll have to talk to someone in the communications department.
They're doing a wonderful job, but we need much more.
Much more,
Yeah.
right?
We need maybe science writers and people who they can bridge the academic with the, so it's maybe specialized.
That's wonderful. I'm joking because I work in the communications department, and I know this is what we need, but it's good to hear it confirmed. I think Barbara has a question.
I love the idea of empowering these rural communities, but I worry about exploitation or unwanted development or commercialization in any way. Are there?
This is why Daskara is important, because in the first step we're creating a repository that is created by the local residents. So they have an account of everything they have. And then the development project, the crowdfunding feature, is is not mandated by anyone. So anyone from that village who has any idea will run it by the local community, and then we take it. We don't have a agenda. We don't tell them, okay, if it's only on this topic, we take it. If it's not, we don't. Any idea they have, because we don't want to take advantage, and we don't want. Daskara is not about people becoming a showcase for tourists. No,
Right.
no. We want this app to help them grow the way they want to.
That's very nice. Yeah.
Then a question following up on Barbara's question is, how do you moderate everybody's contribution?
This is why we had the first phase, which was like 4 or 5 years of participatory work. I mean, it looks like we're talking community and we're communicating, but there is a lot of academic work in the background that happened. So we have optimized our participatory process, we have optimized how community interaction occurs, and so all of this is going to be, this conventional sustainable participatory development is translated into the digital platform. It's extrapolated to the digital platform.
I was wondering if you could give us an example of how, when you mentioned community, what did that group look like? Who were the people in the room, and how? And you said they had to approve consensus building, and I was wondering if you had any maybe examples of what that looked like.
Okay, so a community are people who live in the same location or in the same institution. So when I talk about community in the village, it's the residents of that village. And it would include the local authority, the baladiya. It will include local NGOs, schools, individuals, public servants. And the way we approach residents of a village is through existing systems. So first we approach the municipality, local NGOs. So we just work within the existing system. Our aim is not, we don't want to make change. We want to provide knowledge so that people change. And so we're just here to facilitate a process where people have clarity of thinking, they have clarity of their assets, they feel empowered. So we're really not pushing anything. As AUB, we go and they know we're not coming with money, we're just coming with a process, a system.
This is a wonderful project. From your observations of the communities, maybe you could tell us more, what kind of people in the communities are especially interested in conservation, and what kind of knowledge do they want to have access to?
Okay, so thank you for this question, because when I moved from a scientific nature to cultural nature, this is when we're talking in the beginning of the talk that nature is within our everyday life. What we're trying to do is not to understand how much they know about nature and nature conservation. What we're trying to understand is how natural elements are contextualized in the broader scheme of the village life as a whole. So we are not after experts in nature or whatever, we just are after who are, what is this community, what does this community see, who are the assets, because everywhere, even with us sitting here, you have people who love nature, you have people who hate nature, you have people who are vegetarian, people who eat meat, you have people who are, I don't know, Republicans, people who are Democrats, in Lebanon it's something else. But the community is the same. And so this is why we don't go in trying to reach any one group. We're just going in with a system that we hope will bring some kind of dynamism and action, local action. So we're making this platform available. People who are proactive, people who are interested will be stronger contributors. And then there is a checks and balances of local information that we have through our participatory system.
So it will be available to people outside of the community.
Yeah, it's a free, open platform. It's like a Google if you want, but it's a development platform. It's a platform for development.
And were the communities open to that such a project? How did they receive that?
This is why I said AUB, it's very important that we are AUB. It's very important. It's so important that I can send a young woman that is in her early 20s and everyone will meet with her, from the head of the municipality to the smallest child, because she is AUB. And that's very important.
If I may follow on, there seem to be threats that are common traveling around. I notice, for example, the pine nuts, the snowball is affected in the south. They tell you the olive trees, in other places it's Daskara. Isn't there a community of kind of needs where people can learn from each other?
Yes. Now, in this digital platform, there is also a button where you can report issues. You can report a problem, and then that will open to the communication with the. You can say there is this problem here, and then someone will say, yes, I have the same problem there. So there is a report function in the app as a whole. And we were talking yesterday, in Lebanon, I think all of us know everything we don't have. Everyone knows we don't have water, we don't have electricity, we don't have this, everyone knows all the negatives. But no one is investing that time understanding what do we have. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the narrative. Assuming that there are lots of people busy with talking about what we don't have, let's see what we have and what we have left.
But reporting is done to who?
It's a digital, it's an open platform.
But is there a channel to governmental or?
Yes, I mean the governments are sharing data also. Yeah.
Okay, can you track where is?
It's a regular digital platform. Yani في analytics that you can see who said what, etc. But it's not managed. It's not a one way. It's not like you apply, you say I have a problem, and then I say, yes, your problem is this. But we can channel problems, but it is an open digital platform that also we hope to replicate in other countries. We hope to license this app in other countries. Yes.
If I understand, so this is at the AUB. Is there like a specific department to belong, or like you're trying to?
It is developed by the Nature Conservation Center
at the AUB? All right.
Yes. Yes.
So you said in phase 1 you located 3,200 natural cultural landmarks.
Yes.
Does this also equal 3,200 qarya, I mean villages, in your mind, or how do you locate? And based on, let's say, in one village there's more than one landmark?
Of course, this is why we moved to digital.
Yeah.
Because when we started with a map, and it took 6 months for the village to locate the landmarks, and then we had the exhibit, and then in the exhibit they would come with a fact pack, change this, add that, I forgot to say this, etc. So we could do it by hand for the first 2 years, and then we said it has to be a dynamic process. So it always gets updated. And with a digital platform, you add location, you update information, you update images.
What's the definition of a landmark? So far, let's say in a village.
You decide.
You tell me, it's like a
No,
olive
you
tree,
decide.
an old olive tree or something like, okay. And then one more thing, how about the water? We have the water. Is it only nature, or is it also our
coastal?
Yes,
no. There are water features, there are natural beaches, there are sea turtle watching sites.
Right.
Yeah, we're focusing on everything.
All right.
It's all throughout Lebanon. Yeah, it's like 70 and some icons that you can select from.
70.
I don't. Yeah, they will as soon as the app is out, you can.
Oh,
there is an early version now that's available.
Okay. Wallah Sashra, I meant to say, Daskara comes from what originally?
Daskara, the Arabic, Daskara
لا
is
ما
an
نعرف.
Arabic, yes,
Is it?
It is Arabic, but not of Arabic origin.
No.
Yes.
شيء Syriani or something?
Yes. But in Arabic it means القرية
فهمنا
العريقة.
بس الأصل شو؟ ما بتعرف.
Yes. But we confirmed with Arabic teachers that Daskara means القرية العريقة. And then we're trying to push forward this concept of Daskarji.
I think,
What is nice about that is also retaining the Lebanese people in their villages, and the young generation, bringing them back who have entrepreneurial and want to better the life of their parents, having access to information to do better things. For example, hey dad, you have too many apples, we don't know what to do with it. Now there's a big movement with apple in Lebanon. How do you dry apple? How do you turn them into chips? Because of the growth, and so they don't get damaged. So a young person would come and say, I want to handle this. Let me work with you on that.
Actually, we are especially targeting the millennials and the Z generation, etc., because they are the ones who are going to use the app. The older generation provides the information, but they're not really interested in the digital platform.
So talk about what you said about love and happiness and feeling good and giving back. Chapeau.
It's great.
Salma, I have a question. You talked about the fact that you found that children appreciate nature through grandparents and family. Is that filtering down into your research or your outreach in any way? What are you doing there?
Absolutely, because you tend to think that if I want to provide a good environmental education, then I have to get international concepts, I have to have an NGO, an environmental NGO, and if I don't have this, I cannot do anything, and then you get a lot of money, then you have to run a program, outreach program, I don't know what, where the answer is right there. All you need to do is tell the parents that what you're doing is the most important. And this is the message, that they are the basics, and that they are the rock on which we're going to build anything that comes after.
Salma, I think we'll wrap up, and I wondered if you might tell us two things. One is any kind of timeline you might know about the app, because I think we all want to.
Yes. But I want you to be very patient with us, because app development in Lebanon is not the most advanced skill that the country has. And if through our AUB network we can have anyone to help us move faster, we can move much faster. But this is where we're really struggling at this stage.
I think those of us at the table are sitting here thinking, what can we do, and how wonderful, I can't wait. Maybe you could tell us what we might be able to do to help move this along.
Okay, so on the technical side, we finished like the first early version, which is out on Android and will be out soon on the iOS. On the technical side, we need people who are, or companies, or anyone who can help us in kind to further develop the features, programming, app development, or whatever. On the personal side, we need Daskarji. We need people to start contributing landmarks, stories, information. Because, for example, we have arts, we have archaeology, we have many different features that people can start contributing.
And how would they do that?
Online, just download the app, register, and start contributing.
So that part already works.
It works, but it's not very friendly. It may be a bit frustrating, but the Android version already works. And if you have questions, the office is ready. The Nature Conservation Center is ready to answer, to follow up with you, etc. But yes, it works. You can. So if you download, if people are Android, it should be working. If it doesn't work very well, this is what we need to make it smoother.
And in terms of contribution, so the contribution would go now to the conservers?
Nature Conservation Center, it's AUB Nature. If it's information, it goes through the app directly. If it's financial, it goes AUB Nature Conservation Center to that project.
Sounds like we need some app developers to put their minds on this.
Yes,
and move it along, and perhaps Pat can find one. What do you think?
Maybe. What would you say your number one funding priority would be if you could wave a magic wand? What would you do with $100,000?
We need to move with the features. Really focus on getting the app developed. Because you have the idea, you have the vision. If you don't provide a tool that is up to your expectation, then there's going to be fatigue, and then the project will not fly. So we have to really move fast. We know the idea is good, and we know it's going to be useful, but we want to know also that it is of a quality that AUB can be proud of.
I thank you so much, and I think we'll close the more formal part of this. I think Najib has a question first.
To follow up on what you said about communications, about what we can do
Yes.
Better Beirut and New York, is what are the stories, the success stories that the app contributed to? Do you have on account what is, or something available that we can extrapolate and use to promote further the whole project, and then that can draw more contributors?
Yes, we are planning hopefully for a launch in May, where we're going to invite all the constituencies, and I'm sure the communication office is going to be involved very closely, helping us rally momentum, because we want all of AUB to know about that, because once the crowdfunding part comes, people from every village will be looking for their village to see if anyone submitted something and they want to support. So we are going to be working very closely with the communication office to prepare for the launch in the spring. But we're just trying to finish with the technical
This is what you get, Salma, for changing your focus to work with people instead of plants.
I think people either think I'm crazy or I'm entertaining some kind of drug, because they all complain about Lebanon, and maybe I see Lebanon through the eyes of a young person, because young people cannot see no hope, because they're young. This is how they are. They see hope, and so this is what we are a university for young people, so we have to project hope.